Okay, this was, let's see. Well, we did the disclaimer. We can all verify that. We did the disclaimer earlier. And we're now looking at, and started the recording a little bit late. This is the Australian dollar. Right now we're inside the wedge, waiting for it to break out of the bottom. It already broke out of the top. And now we're looking at it breaking out of the bottom. We're going to put our 2-pip line on the bottom here. So I'm going to get my wedge, my trend tool, overlay that bottom.
Sorry, when you have a moment, can you just make Christina panelist as well? She's in the room.
Let me do that right now. And Christine, where are you? There you are. There you go. Welcome, Christine.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning,
and
Ava.
we're going to be
Morning.
53.6. Bring this down to 53.6. That's pretty close. And this would be the entries to sell. So if it gets down if we get a nice move down into this region with a red candle that closes, maybe a slight blue candle pull back to the wedge, and then we look to take it short. This would be the first area of interest where we'll be looking at possibly where it may start to, let's see, actually it's pretty much looking at the 5-minute chart. There's really no wicks until it can get all the way down to this area right here. That gives us a little bit more room for a target if it breaks down. And right now we wait. And right now all of our RSIs are pointing in the right direction. We have the whole moving average, which is showing all to sell, and our US dollar is stronger to the Aussie. The US dollar is the second currency of the pair, and therefore if the dollar is strong, which it is showing right here, then we should be looking to go short with it.
Actually, Al, I drew the alert for the US Swiss, and it looks like it wants to break out from the top. It's an ascending wedge, and it seems to be breaking out the top of it. So I don't know if you got
the US Swiss. Okay, let me take a look at it. Yep, I see that. Yeah, right now we have the US Swiss. Let's put this on a 15-minute chart. We drew our wedge, it was ascending, so we're starting from the bottom to the top, find a pivot high, flatten the top up on a 15-minute chart. We're going to go over to the 1-minute chart. And you can see it's starting to break out. Here's our top of the wedge. We're going to find our 2-pip zone. It's 14.16.3. About there. Make this a and we're going to make this entry to buy. See, we have the US dollar is strong to the Swiss. US dollar is strong to the Swiss. Coming on up into it's breaking the wedge. It hasn't closed inside the wedge yet on this 1 minute. Just checking it out right now. Our RSIs are out of the 40-60 range. We have 3 whole moving averages. but we still need to get it closed above the wedge. Let's see where our fib lines are. It's going to have a little bit of trouble getting through this one, but so we do have a 7 pip range from the breaks out top of the wedge. We have 7 pips up to just above this blue line up here. That's our 30 minutes 62 moving average. Okay, went right back into the wedge. So right now, no trade yet. Let's take a look at our Aussie, see how that's doing. That's still trying to break out of the bottom. This is on a 5-minute chart. All the moving averages are in the right direction. Again, it's still back in the wedge. Still no trade yet for that. We'll keep an eye on both of these and see which one gives us the best opportunity to take a trade.
Yeah, I'll keep my eye on the US Swiss if you get busy with the Aussie dollar.
Okay, yeah, thank you. That'd be great. I said one thing I'm looking at with this Aussie dollar is that we have a nice little trend going where the actual wedge is. We have a trend line going, a descending trend line going down. This was sort of like what I call a head and shoulders or a head fake, where we have a shoulder here where the C is. It came up, formed the head, and now it's forming another shoulder right in this area right here. If this area can hold, it could probably very likely go lower. We'll see what it does. Right now it's inside the wedge. We don't really know exactly what it's going to do, but we are keeping that one in mind. We come back and see there's a, let me see if I could, no, I don't want to use those. Although what we can do is we can draw another trend line off of this peak here and off of this peak. This is forming a trend. That's an anchor. That's the first hit. If it comes up, it could come up and retest the top of this. Let's see what it looks like on a 15-minute chart. On the 15-minute chart, the US dollar is still strong, not by a lot, but it looks like it's starting to, well, right now everything's right in the middle, so that we don't really know which way this thing's going to go.
What's the distance in pips between your trend line and the top of your wedge, please?
Between the trend line, this trend line?
Yes, the new one that you just...
And the top of the wedge?
Yes, please.
That's a good question.
Thanks.
It's going to be 11 pips.
Okay.
So there would be enough room if it breaks the top of the wedge, just to be the next area you'd be looking at it to pause, let's just say. And if we look at our Fibonacci lines, we have, this green line is right here where the C was, right on the C. Came up, it broke it, came up, tested it, and it could come up and retest this. Recheck it again. Our moving averages are all consolidated right now. They're not exactly in the proper order. We are starting to get this 13 moving average crossing over the 62. And we'll see what happens. This is a little bit of a down move. This is a little bit of a pullback. It's actually forming a little bit of a flag pattern right here. Another wedge inside of a wedge. If you draw this, you can see that. And this, when I draw these wedges a little bit more, keep it a little bit more conservative, keep it a little bit bigger wedges. a lot of times it's not unusual to see a wedge form inside a wedge, especially when you have a strong down move like this. This to be a significant move. It's coming back up, and we'll see that you have a little bit of a wedge from the top of this candle to this candle. Flatten it out. We actually take this thing up a little bit higher if you can. There's really no. This like a little bit, and this is what I call a little bit of a flag pattern. And if you, but it is forming a little bit of a wedge in there. Well, it's pretty early on, but that's kind of what I'm kind of looking at that a little bit. If you look and see what the retracement of this could be, if this thing stops around here, it could really break down. And if it does break, we could be looking at a Fibonacci target from the top to the bottom to retrace it up to this area. And we'd be could very well be looking at this area down here, which is right where this box is for our target zone, right in this area. This one could be a very nice trade. We'll see what happens here.
US Swiss is respecting the top of the wedge right now. It keeps getting close to breaking and it just won't do it.
It doesn't surprise me with the, especially with this moving average way up here. If it does break out, you're not going to have, not going to have a lot of room to go with that. You probably have a little bit more room to the downside.
And on the 15, the US is way stronger than the Swiss. It's 6, Swiss is 0.
The US is way strong on the 15-minute chart.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6, and so that would mean that US Swiss. That means it should break to the upside. If this wedge breaks, it should break to the upside with a little bit of strength. Let's see, here we at. And you see there's a little bit of it. One reason why I like using this triangle tool is it allows me to oftentimes get a secondary trend after I draw the wedge. Here's the A, here's the B, here's the C. The D I just free floated. Pretty much when I drew this, I just sort of made it level with the B and using that for the top of the wedge. But then you can see where I can use this. The AC line doesn't move, but the CD line, and I can tuck this in to have like a secondary trend line with a flat top. And that way, if it breaks the top, we're off to the races. If it breaks this, we could possibly get an earlier entry for it to break to the bottom. But I would still need to have it close below this candle right here before I could take that trade early on. And that would be a little bit more advanced. Normally, we try to just wait for it to break the bottom of the wedge. But this candle is a significant candle. We want to see if it breaks this trend line, this CD line, I want to see it close below the bottom of this candle. And that would give us a good indication that maybe the wedge will break and go to the downside on the wedge. So as we're waiting for that to happen, we're going to come back over to the Aussie pair, see if this is holding. And right now, the top of this red candle, we had a nice red candle. We have a wick over wick area right in here. You can see that this is holding. If this breaks, then we could go all the way up to the top up here, which would be just outside of the wedge. So all you need is one good trade a day. You just have to be patient with it. See right now where this area is starting to form very nicely, and if it can break out the bottom, then we might have a nice trade way down here to the 71.45 area. And let's see on the 15-minute chart, see where our fib lines are. The green line up here, and then we should have another line. Well, it's all the way down here, so that's on a 15-minute chart. Let's go to a 5-minute. How's our Swiss doing there, Eva?
Well, it's just slightly broken. I'm looking at the 1 minute now. It's a green candle forming, so you might want to have a look at it because it's outside of the wedge. It just got out.
Okay. All right. Let's take a look at that. Busy morning this morning.
Yeah.
And we're going to go to our 1 minute chart.
Maybe my wedge is slightly lower on the top, but no, it's about the same.
Yeah, it should be. It looks like you have a pretty. If what you're saying, it matches what I'm looking at here too. So I think your wedge is pretty close to what mine is. This is all green. This is these are all starting to come out. This is on a 1 minute chart, so we could come up, get a little bit of a hook, which is right about what we're doing right now. This RSI is hooking a little bit. If it comes back into this 40-60 range and then comes back up, we might have a trade. All these are green. All our whole moving averages are green. The U.S. is showing strength. Even on a pullback, is still showing strength. And we'll see what happens here.
Al,
Yes.
I have just a question.
Yeah.
When when you draw your wedges, okay, your A to C line is the line that, like when they tell you if it's ascending or descending, that's the one that determines, that you'll do that into which way they're saying it is, correct?
Yeah, that determines my starting point. The A, I start, right. If it's ascending, I start with the bottom of the price action going from low to high. And if it's descending, I start the A at the upper part of where the price action is, and I go from high to low.
Correct. Now is a straight line from A to C comparable to when you have a pitched line A to C?
Oftentimes, I usually try, if I flatten out a line like I did on this one, on the US Swiss, if I flatten a line, I generally do it with the B to D. I try and keep at ascending, I try and find the AC line being the ascending part. And I also try to find where I have multiple hits, excuse me, multiple hits with an anchor, a hit before the alert, and hit after. This one, I couldn't get a hit until I really, excuse me, with this one, as I form my A, because this was ascending, so I started my A down below all the price action. I'm usually looking for 3 hits: an anchor, a mid hit, and then another one that's close to where the alert was. In this particular case, I couldn't do it without breaking. If I took the C all the way up here, I couldn't do it without breaking through all these lines. So I have to pull the C back down. And so I just have to forgo the intermediate hit. But what I'm also looking at, I'm looking to see that if this thing comes down, it may give that to me to validate the trend line. It may get it come down, get a bounce, come back off. That validates this trend line. In the meantime, I have my C to D, where I flattened out my D. I also put the D such that it would form a trend line with some hits along this move right now. So like here's a hit here, here's a near hit. So that helps, and I just free move that. I can just move this wherever I want. So if I want to do it where it was at the top, where I flattened the top from the BD line, I made that flat, and then I just tucked this in to where I could find a wick touch, starting from my C point. Here's a near hit. This is only 98 to, this is less than a pip. So this was a near hit. Here's a hit. Here's a hit. So right now that sort of validates this whole move here. So that now if it breaks the trend line, it comes back. If it breaks up here and comes back and breaks through this, we may be getting a reversal pattern there.
Okay, so then last night when we had in the evening session, when we drew, I believe it was on the Aussie US, I believe, I could be wrong. The A to C was not necessarily really pitched. I may be thinking of the wrong pair.
Yeah, no, every sometimes it's almost like neither one of them seem like they're really pitched very much. They have much of an angle on it. Sometimes, and it's almost like it's just drawn. It's just a flat line box. It's a wedge, but the wedge is so, especially on the, I think it was the Aussie Swiss. It was US Swiss, I think is what it was.
Okay, yes.
Because there was so little time from the market close to where we got the alert. There really wasn't a lot of movement. There was only like 7 pip range between from where we got the alert from where the market closed. This one's starting to break out the top here.
Okay, I'll be quiet.
And then we'll go back to that discussion here.
Sure.
All right, now we have a blue candle coming in. I'll get let's see, this would be a line. Let's see if we have, I'll have my chart set up here for, yep, it is. Okay, we should be able to take the trade now, if I can get this thing to work. No, I would be entering the trade right here, right now. Bear with me a second. You still seeing my charts?
Yes.
Yes.
Andrew's telling us that the Aussie US is moving as well.
Okay, let's see what we can, let me get back to my charts here. I had to try to get into a trade here. So it's okay, it came up, now it's retesting the wedge here. So this should, I was trying to take a demo trade on this one. Aussie US, Aussie's starting to break down.
We don't see the Aussie chart go well.
Yeah, I may be wrong. I think I'm frozen. It looks okay.
Okay, hang on a second. Hang on, I'm getting my screens all screwed up here. Pause, stop. Resume recordings, charts. Here we go. Here's my charts. And here's the Aussie dollar. Right now, the Aussie's still inside the wedge. There's really nothing new here yet. And let me change screens on this. Now, I don't like working off my laptop.
You're gonna have to take your PC with you everywhere you go.
Well, it's almost beginning to look that way. It just doesn't have the power that my desktop does. Okay, is everybody seeing my Aussie's chart right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I still need to change this out. There we go. Yeah, the Aussie's still hanging inside this box right here. It's going sideways right now. It's probably going to break out. It's going to break out one way or the other as it gets closer towards the end of the main wedge. It's the CD is getting near the end. You can see where the point of the wedge is all the way over in here. Right now it's just basing in this area. So no trade on that just yet, unless you're already in it, then you just bide your time here. And the Swiss is still looking to break to the upside. Everything's green here. Strength on the dollar. U.S. Swiss is strong all across. This gives a good indication that this thing may break to the upside.
It's being difficult.
Here's the zone. You can see actually we never did get a 5-minute close into the zone here. We did get the 1-minute close, I believe. Actually, a nice little 1-minute candle, nice green candle, closed right near the top of it, pulled back, tagged it, came back to give us a little bit of a blue, but now it's starting to, it's just kind of playing with us. But see how it's also, in the same token, it's also respecting this other CD trend line that we drew. So respecting that. Anyway, now we got a nice green candle. And if you got into this trade, we're looking to go long. You got in, say, right about in. See, you got a fill here. Wish I could have got my chart. I try getting to take it on my charts, but my chart didn't take it. So I'll have to do it this way. It's moving nicely in the upper direction. Our 7-pip target's right up in this area. Just look. Now you're going to have to get through this. This is going to be could be a little bit of a problem, but we'll see if it just plows through that. And this is showing a lot of U.S. strength, which should help the Aussie pair if the U.S. stays strong to all the other pairs. That should bring the Aussie-U.S. into the short arena. You see how it came right on up to this wick, up to the this 30-minute 62, which is on the 1-minute chart. So basically, this is the exponential moving average as if it were sitting on a 30-minute chart for the 62 exponential moving average. We just have it overlaid. But all of our trend lines or all of our moving averages are in the right order. 62, 13, 5. That's on the 1-minute chart. Let's see where it is on the 5-minute.
Jay had mentioned that there's good news with the jobless claims for the U.S.
We didn't get to check in the reports, the news. And we'll just see how this one plays out. Right now, everything's still showing in to go long. You have two green bars. RSIs are heading in the right direction. This is on a 5-minute chart. We have a higher high. We have, this was kind of a bullish, actually it's in kind of a neutral candle right now, but it's got a higher high, it got an equal low right here. It did break a little bit lower, but tagged right along this 13 period exponential moving average, which I like to use that on the 5-minute chart. I like to follow the chart, follow the trade with that. And if we're looking at some Fibonacci targets, right here, this green line right here is a nice little target to be looking at. This target 1. And that's right at the top of our 7 pips. Well, we're watching that. Let's see how our Aussie's doing. Aussie's still sitting there. It's trying to break out of the top of the wedge again. It's got a little bit of strength. Also see we have our AC. Now this is the trend line that we're looking to see if it's going to respect this trend line or not. This one's still hanging in there. US Swiss. That's a neutral engulfing candle. Engulfs all these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It engulfed 5 of these candles. Closed fairly neutral. It closed right about in the middle of the range of this candle. This is a significant level right in here. See what it's going to do. Still respecting this 62, this 13 period exponential moving average on the 5-minute chart, still respecting that. And this one's still not giving us any clear indication which way it's going to go. Take this off. It's a little less confusing. Came up, tagged the 62, came up past it, and see if it's going to close above it. Yes. If it can close above that entry zone, we may want to go long on that Aussie dollar. Let's see if I can get a trade in on this. And I'm going to move the stop down a little bit lower. Well, if this thing works, then it should take off and probably retest this area up here. How's our Swiss doing? Still hanging in there. Well, it's starting to come back into the wedge. And we still have to wait and see. Right now, it looks like it wants to break up. Take a look at our Swiss, see what it's doing. It's still inside the wedge, but maybe we may get stopped out on this one. But we did get stopped. I got stopped out on this one. And we wait. The Swiss just flipped over with the strength on the 5-minute chart. Dollar is still a little bit stronger on the 15, not as happy as it was. I don't want to see this thing close below this candle right here. Yeah, let's see how our Aussie's doing. Aussie's still trying to break. Aussie's still looking more positive to the upside. You closed above our 62 moving average. And we're starting to get some crosses up the 5 and the 13. As we have a little bit of a wick over wick area right in this area. Everybody can still hear me, correct?
Yes, yes, Sal.
Okay, if I lose I've got earbuds in. If they run out of juice, I'll just be talking to myself. I won't know that that I lost you. So if
I'll
I get a
send
long
up a
period,
flare.
if I get a long period of silence for a while, I may have to, I'll be asking that question.
Okay. I'll send up a flare.
Okay. Text me or email me or something. Let me know.
Sure.
Let's see, where's my template? This is what I want, my range box. I thought I was white. There we go. We do have this is drop, this little wick over wick, came all the way down. I would expect a little bit of a challenge on this. So none of these are really cooperating very nicely today. They break out and then they come back in again. I'm going to take that. So I got stopped out on this one, so I'm going to take this one off. We'll watch this again for another time. If it comes back up, we can take another try at it. In the meantime, it may come down to the bottom. Right now, it still has to respect. I'm still looking for it to respect this 62 moving average down here. This could just be a strong pullback. Swiss is still showing strong right here on the 5-minute. The Aussie, let's see where that one's still have a little bit of a basing going on here. It's like a rally, closed up high, a red candle base, and now we have another blue candle coming in. This one looks like this one may take off okay. We had a nice we came up to the 89 on the RSI, pulled back to less than the 52, and then hooked again before we even got back to the 40-60 range. So that's a good sign that this thing may come up and tag that. Looks like we're starting to get a nice little breakout on the Aussie. So I am in this trade still. did pull back. Here's my 7 pip line. Never didn't come back. Right now, it's still respecting. Have a nice close above the 5-minute 62, and we're starting to get some consolidation right here. If this thing can break off, we should be able to track it with the yellow 13 exponential moving average.
And the 13 helps keep us out of being as whipsawed as much as if we manage on the first.
Yeah, if once you get into the trade, if all the moving averages stay in the right direction, then I use the 13, which is the yellow one. I use that for a pretty much like a trend line. As long as the RSIs or those that the hulls stay red and it stays above, I'll see a pullback to this 13, especially on the 15. You'll see a pullback and just wick it, and then take off again. So those are oftentimes pullbacks. You may see an early one, especially when it first breaks out. You may see a challenge of this 13, especially on the 15 period chart.
Now you want your hulls to be in this case, in this trade, you want them both to be green, not red, correct?
Oh yes, if I said red, I did mean that. Yeah, I want them green.
No big deal. I just
Yeah. So we want the hulls to be. And now I like ideally when this thing if this thing starts to really break and trend, you want to see all greens on the 15. You'll see it on. Let me get it on the 5 here. Find it here. Where is it? It's still propagating. And here we go. I'd like to see 2 greens. Here's a red and a green. I want to see both of those being green. And same way with the 1 minute. Here's the top one's the 15, the middle one's the 5, the last one is the 1 minute. I want to see all 3 of these green. If these are all green, these are all green, and the 15 minute is all green, and you see it's trending with all the moving averages in the correct direction. On the 15, especially on the 15-minute chart, right now they're all consolidating. You can see they're all bunched up together. They're trying to decide which way it's going to go. But when they're all consolidated, when they're all in the right direction, we have a green, a yellow, and an orange. And you see that the green and the yellow are starting to pull away from each other. That's when you know that you may be starting to get a nice little trend going. And then you can use the yellow 62. You can see like over in this area right here, you can see what I'm talking about. Yeah, they're all bunched together. It broke out. You have a green, the yellow, and the orange. And you can see where this first violated the yellow, but it followed all the way up until you got up to this point here. And then it flattened out. When you got the cross, you're pretty much done with the trade. If you're going to try and track it that way, you can see this is all green right down along in here, staying green. Even though this was whipsawing, if you have the moving averages in the right direction, you have the strength. Where you can see like right here where it broke, the Aussie got strong and had control all the way up until you never got the crossover until you got the crossover in this area. And that's what we're kind of shooting for in this for this trade here. Same type of scenario. Everything right now, everything's all bunched together. But if it can break, if we can get a green bar and get the Aussie strong, which it is here on the 15 right now, Aussies being the first currency of the pair, so that we're going for the strength of that. And this thing, and we can get this thing to turn green, and all the moving RSIs stay above the 40 line. We might have a nice little, could have a nice little trend trade. You just need a nice little push to get all these things in the right order. You see from this move to this move, right now it's stalled right in the middle of the move. Provide you with some fib lines. from up here to down here, you'll see right now it's right at the 50% area. How's our Swiss doing? Bouncing off the 62. A lot of times when you see all these moving averages consolidated inside the wedge, where you have the, the green, the orange, and the yellow all inside, then you get the breakout. That's usually a nice little sign that things may start working, because this was just all consolidation. This gave us a head fake, gave us another, looks like it was going to break out the bottom. Didn't break out the bottom on this. And now it broke out the top again. So that was just a little strong pullback. And you can see where we have this D, this line, this candle right here, this blue candle right here is still a little bit above the D. So this could be a really nice move right now with this. It's actually forming a little bit of a harmonic pattern right now. And if this is going up, that means the Aussie's getting stronger. The dollar is looking weaker. In the U.S. Swiss, the dollar is still weak. So right now the Swiss is starting to show that it's going to break out the bottom, and we may want to take this thing short. The dollar just gotten strong. It's gotten weak all of a sudden. And we'll see if this can play. See if I can get this thing trading here. I don't know why it's not letting me to take this new bid. Let's draw our line here on the bottom, this trend line. Move it down 2 pips. About there. Let's go on our 1-minute chart. Here's our pullback. We have 2 of the 3 are red.
Swiss is really taking us for a ride, isn't it?
Yep, looks like it's going to break to the downside. I would enter short at this point. So all these, the Aussies take us for a ride, and the Swiss is taking us for a ride. But eventually, it's going to stop taking us for a ride and start doing what we expect it to do.
Let's hope so. They're playing with us, and it's not even Friday.
Yeah. And there's some days where it just keeps on ranging, and it just keeps on whipsawing you out of these ranges. So that's trading.
Yeah.
But all the moving averages are correct. We got three whole moving averages came up. It's wicked up right into our zone. Hasn't broken it yet, and we got the yellow and the green starting to widen out a little bit.
And nice RCSs.
And the RCSs are still good for the Swiss being strong, which is strong to the downside. Remember I said I didn't want to see it. So that was on the 15-minute. This was a 15-minute candle. I didn't want to see it. Once it closed below that, this thing should be respected. If it's not, something's wrong.
Which
The
should be
Swiss is,
respected out.
yeah,
Sorry.
the Swiss is still showing strong. Got 3 red hulls, and everything is still hanging below the 60, and we have a nice little hook on the 3-minute or 3-period RSI. So it's still looking okay for now. It's still looking okay. It's just testing the bottom of the wedge.
When
It might stop us above this line right here. So, yes, Christine.
Okay, the line, the dotted yellow is the one that you mean to be respected.
That's correct. That was the bottom of a 15-minute blue candle, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
I'm looking at this right. That was. Did I go to my 15-minute chart?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I had this. That was a strong 15-minute candle. Now it actually did. Here was, as these get. As you start getting the blue candles, here's a basing. Here's another blue candle. I could have looked at this one as well, but I like this area a lot better. And so it was like this area and then this area for sure. And this candle went. This one broke the first one, which was this blue candle right here. This one broke it. Not only did it broke that one, but it broke two. And a lot of times if I see it breaking 2 significant blue candles, then that's usually the reversal that I'm looking for. So we'll see. Right now, this thing, it broke this whole area. And actually, you see, this candle was a strong candle all the way down to pretty much, well, to where the C is, which is where it's kind of, so it's respecting the bottom of this C, but it's also, you also have the respect of this one. So right now, it's probably range bound between, let me take this off of here. I don't like this keep popping up like this. Right now, let's see if it's going to respect the bottom of this. Definitely want to respect the top of this red candle, because that was a strong move. If this candle was just a whipsaw, it'll probably break the top of that again. And we'll take it all the way to the wick of that. So I'm going to put this as my stop zone. And so we have a little bit, there's a wick, this is going to be a little wick over wick. How's our Aussie doing? Went right up into this zone and it came right back down again. And I'm done trading the Aussie dollar for the day. This thing's just not playing fair.
Now, we're not supposed to get emotional.
Well, we got whipsawed up here, and I got whipsawed down here, and therefore, if I lose it twice in the one day, that's where I stop trading it.
I'm teasing, Al.
Yeah, I know,
No
but
offense.
no, I don't take any offense to that.
Okay.
But it's what happens is sometimes it just does that, just keeps on staying within a range, and you keep saying, okay, here's the time to get in, and it goes, you get in, and it gets you a little bit of profit, and then it turns around. So really, there's no real clear direction on this. Some days are just like that, and you just have to weather through them, and that's just the way it is. It's trading. I usually let myself get stopped out twice in one pair, and then I just stop trading it and wait for another day. I didn't catch that first move on the Aussie. I didn't catch this first move on the Aussie. And when I came back, I took a retest. I was looking for it to retest the wedge, and then it stopped me out down here, and then it stopped me out again up here. So that's twice. You have any other wedge alerts at all? Nothing since 7:15.
Do we have any news? Is that maybe?
Oh, that's probably a good question. We need to take a look at that maybe. Let's see here. We have daily routine, Fox News, factory. And nothing right now. Today's Thursday the 13th at 10:30. Nothing really until Aussie at 7:30 p.m. tonight. And that's probably why we're getting whipsaw so bad. The news is probably getting out, and no one knows what to do with it. But they're taking positions for whenever the announcement's going to be. Let me take this off. Turn my fibs lines off. I can take this off. I did respect this area right here. We're having a little bit of a trend following right on along the tops of this thing. From here to here, starting to form a little trend line. And then how's our Swiss doing? Swiss is, let's see, which way were we on this one? I think we had the breakout up here and it closed. We had the breakout down below. Looks like it's starting to do about the same thing that the Aussie was doing to us. What's gold doing today? Let's see what gold's doing. That may have some bearing on the situation. Gold's down quite a bit from the last couple of days. So gold's getting a little bit weaker. less panic going on in the financial world from that standpoint. One reason why we use tight stops is so that way when you get stopped out, you still have equity to be able to play another day. If you let it go for too long, that's where you blow up your accounts, and you just end up having to start all over again. Let's take a look at this 15-minute chart on the Swiss and just see if we could have drawn this wedge a little differently. A lot of times if things don't work out, it's because maybe the wedge wasn't drawn correctly, or there's a better way of doing it. And let's see, it was an ascending. I still like the way I drew it. It's not seeing any reason to think otherwise at this point. Let's see where the... We have some 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days ago. Let's see what it looks like on an hourly chart. Until let me redraw this to start this thing over and just see if there's something we could have done differently based on what we're seeing now. It was at 7:15, I believe. $7:15, US Swiss, put on a 15-minute chart. It was ascending, so we're looking at this area right here. I said I like to look and see if I can get 3 hits. Let's see if I can come over here and see if there's anything I can pick up. Come to a higher time frame. Actually, it almost looks like we need to sort of respect. This is going to be a flat line there. It was an ascending wedge. A lot of times what I like to do is I like to see where the significant move has been. And we're actually looking at, here's a pivot low from the last week or so. Here's the pivot low, here's the pivot high. We draw our box and see where we are inside that range of that box. And sometimes when things just aren't working out, it's because you're in a range and it just end up just not moving fast enough to. So here was the alert. Say start with your box that you have. Draw a trend line. This is still not. These are not valid hits here. This would be the first one. Here's your wedge alert. And if you draw a Fibonacci along this area, Fibonacci retracement from there to the box area. See, we're right now in the 38 to 23% range. This still has room to kind of go to the downside. So there's I have no reason to think that this wasn't a relatively reasonable wedge to draw. But we may want to be looking at this trend line. So it would be ascending. So we'll start here, come back up, and we'll be looking at this higher. And flatline it up to this point. You look at it from a daily standpoint, you can see where on this 1 hour chart, it needs to kind of get through where this B area is for this to be the target up this area. Back to 15-minute. Here's our AC line. This is how we drew the wedge in the first place. But respecting this trend line, this other trend line here. So this is a secondary trend line. Here's where we drew this. Here's an anchor, here's a hit. Here's the hit. This looks like a better trend line right here. Did violate back here, but this was when we first got the alert. If you look at this thing closely, we had our 3-hit trend line on this BD line, which is usually we try and catch it on the AC, but we didn't get that. And we're already at the apex of the wedge. And sometimes it just don't work. Right now, I'd be willing to pull the C out here, keeping the A. In fact, this is a good trend line here. We had the breach that came back out. We test the bottom of the wedge, which was actually right about in here. Yes, the head fake, and now it's looking like it wants to break out of the bottom, out of the top of it. But this right now is still kind of range bound between this point up here. That's 24 pips. How about some fib lines here? We have a red line right here, right where it's battling it out right now. I'll tell you what, so 9:15, let's take a break. And let's get back here at 9:30 and see if there's an alert that comes out at 9:30. Make my screen up.
Hey, Al.
Hello, yes.
Hi.
Okay, we're back. Just see what's happening as we are approaching the 9:30, and this we're coming up to the U.S. market open, so that may give us some opportunities, or may give us some clarity on some of the trades that we have open right now, or that you may or may not be in. Some of you may be in the Aussie dollar, some of you may be in the U.S. Swiss, and you could be in a variety of directions because it's been giving us lots of signals in different ways. So it's really kind of just range bound right now. Like I said, the markets will go up, they will go down, and they will go sideways. And right now it looks like it's going up, but it's really in a bigger picture point of view, it's really going sideways. And it's been going sideways probably from, like this US Swiss, probably from about 1 o'clock this morning to currently. It's been going sideways inside of a range of let's see, what's the range of this? Inside a 27 pip range with a few different head fakes and breakout. There's a head fake to where a lot of times when I do these wedges, and I say I like to look for an intermediate point where we have the anchor and where we had the alert. Usually that midpoint is going to give us a little bit of a problem, but if we can get through that, then it becomes where the anchor starts. So I'm inclined to be looking at this for the, and you can see that this was right where the end of day break happened yesterday, and this is the full range of where we are today as we speak. And that's another good reason to take the high and low of the overnight high, the overnight low. But we know that we're in this range right now. This is actually going sideways. Once it breaks out of this area, then we can maybe get off to the races here a little bit. And in the meantime, I'm going to be kind of following this. This could be an early entry to go short on this US Swiss.
Excuse me, Al, there's a USD CAD alert, 9:15.
Oh, our favorite pair.
Yeah, Brian should be jumping up and down.
Yeah. All right. 9:15. 9:15? Why is mine not showing that? There it is. 9:15 US CAD. Okay, let's take a look at that. Let's see. So the Aussie. Let's see if I can get another chart on here. Oops, don't want to do that. You still see my charts?
I have the Auvoria Prime.
Uh-oh, there we go again. Let's see what we got here. Where to go? I'm going to take this one off. I'm going to close that window. Now, do you see a chart here?
No, still Auvoria Prime.
All right, what happened to it? Oh, where to go? See my charts now?
Yep, US Swiss.
Okay. Looks like it's starting to break out of the bottom of this little area here. It still has to get through this little wedge where this A was. This was a trend line. You may get another hit off of this, so I'd be careful to get off until it gets out of this box area. It might give you a little bit early entry if it does actually break, but I'm not sure I would bank on that one. Let's see here. If I go to, looking at the US CAD, all right, let's see. Let me put a US CAD chart on here. And that was at 9:15.
Yes.
And it was ascending or descending? Ascending?
I didn't. No one said anything. I'm not sure.
Oh.
You want me to flip over? I would imagine it's
No, I got
descending.
it. Descending wedge.
Yeah.
So we're going to start up high. So this is to answer one of the earlier questions we had. It's a descending wedge. So I'm going to start up here at the S or the A at the top because it's descending. I'm going to find a pivot low, which is my B. I'm going to come up, tuck this C in as close to the wedge alert as I can, and I'm going to flatten this one out.
Okay.
And that's the way I'm going to draw this one right at the moment. I'll look and see where the next pivot highs and lows are. I'm going to go to a little higher time frame chart and just see what I'm looking at for targets. I see no targets over here, anything close. This thing could be, right now I'd be probably favoring this thing to break to the, well, it's got 3-point spread on the CAD, so that means it's going to be going short. Trouble is, where was our target? We need to find a target someplace. Looking over here, nothing on 4-hour daily. Right, here's the target. Here's the wick. We have a wick here. Come over here, and we're looking at the target somewhere down below. Probably right about into this area here. About like that. And it's getting pretty close to that area already. But this wick is significant. This was the last wick before the big up move. So we're going to have some buyers down here probably. So having said that, we're going to go back to our 15-minute chart. This could be a head fake down here. So it could fake down, come in here, grab all the buyers, and then shoot it right back up again. We have this moving average. So I'm going to stay away from this one for a little bit until I get a little bit more clarity. On the upside, we're looking at, here's the A, and that's sort of flat across there. If I took this, see if I can find 3 points for a hit. If I can use this A, this for the A, the question is there anything over here that I can use to count on for that as a hit? Pretty much all the way up to, let's use this pivot up here.
Wow.
And we have, here's the hit. So here's the pivot, here's the hit, here's the third hit. So right now that validates this trend line, the AC line. It validates the AC line, but we still have to figure out what we're going to do about the BD. And right now I'm just going to keep that flattened out. Because the other thing is we also have this moving average, a 62 moving average all the way on the top, and all the moving averages look like this thing is more apt to go break down to the downside. Now also keep in mind with this, when we drew this, when we found that target zone over here, we can find it, where to go. Is it on a daily chart? There we go, on a daily chart. Once it gets through this area, there's another big, this is, I'm going to clone this one. Because once it gets through this area, it comes all the way back down to here. So if this thing can come down and break through that, it could go all the way down to this area.
That'd be nice.
And let's see if there's any fib line. And there's a green fib line right there. So this would be here's our red line. If it breaks through this, we could be going lower on this. So we're going to keep that in mind. Go back to our 15-minute chart and see if we can get a break to the downside on this. How's our Swiss doing? Swiss is still showing a short. So Swiss is still showing the dollar weakness. The US CAD is showing dollar weakness as the US market has opened up at 9:30, 8 minutes ago. So right now we're looking for this, we're looking for a potential break. These are green here on the 15 minute. Let's see what it looks like on the 1 minute. You got 2 reds and the 1 green. So the 15 minutes, the only holdout right now on the green.
You would think with the good jobs report that you'd start getting strength in that dollar.
Unless everything was all planned before that, which is oftentimes what happens, is that you get the good reports. I don't know how many times I'm watching stocks, they had the earnings reports, and it said better than average earnings, and the stock just tanks. Well, it's the only reason because they already had that planned figured into the report. And I thought these, even though they say that there's no one knows anything until after the announcement, I don't totally believe that. I think there's people that know, or at least they have enough data that supports what they know that's going to happen. Either way, that they take the position before the report, so that way they can be selling or buying into all yes, everybody says, oh, it's a good earnings report, so everyone buys, and meanwhile they're just selling into all that frenzy. And I think a lot of these reports are the same way, where it will go and it gives you the report, but the reality is that the big boys have already positioned themselves. So if this thing breaks to the bottom, we'll be looking at maybe taking this thing short. Our 2-point line is going to be, let's see, 11. I'm going to go 9.3 over here, 9.3. Make this our entry to sell. And we'll see what happens. All the moving averages on this one are on the right direction. Let's see where they are on the moving averages on the 5 and 15. Or let's see, where's the 15 here? Moving average on the 15, they're all in the right direction. Everything's looking to go short. So we can be looking to take this thing short. But we need to see if we can get the break of the wedge first. Looks like the Swiss is going short as well. It's breaking through, and let's now see if it can break through the bottom of this. And if it does, we have a target zone of see where our fib line is on the 5-minute chart. We have one right down here at the 90.81 area. So I'll make that our target. Still, if you're still in the Swiss short, this was the break of the, let me take this off here. That doesn't matter anymore. This thing could go for a little while. Everything's nicely formed on the, and it's starting to get a little bit wider on the 5 to the 5 to the 13. We still could have a little bounce off of this trend line. If this is a valid trend line where the A was, where we anchored the A, we had this green line right here, which goes all the way back a couple of days, using this as an anchor, and this is a hit. So this could be the second hit of this trend line. So, and also this is the bottom of that box we drew earlier. You have our box. We had the violation of the box there right now, and it could still very well be trading inside that zone. So if you are in that thing short, you may want to take some profits a little bit earlier.
Sorry, Al, I missed that. Did you say that we should be taking profits if we're still in
Well,
this?
right now, if this green trend line is valid and is validated, this was the midpoint of this green trend line. There's another anchor way back over here to the left a couple of days ago, and here would be the midpoint. And then if this becomes this we just got a bounce off of that. Now, how much of a bounce we get, I don't know. But if this thing bounces and comes up like that, validates the screen trend line from a higher time frame trend. So this thing's going all the way back to, all the way back here several days ago. That's where this trend started. This is the first hit we had from that low. And this looks like it's validating that. And also we're looking at, this was our ranged box from the overnight high, overnight low. We had a little bit of a breach of the high, but it couldn't hold it, and we kind of whipsawed us. But it's also looking to respect the bottom of this range. Now this doesn't hold and this breaks, and we're looking to come down to this level here. But you can see, like, here's our blue fib line on our 5-minute chart. Here's our blue fib line. This is 21 pips away.
Yeah.
And this is about the range where it's been. Now we could get another little head fake. Here's the head fake coming up to the green. Here could be the head fake coming down to the red. But there's still some room. If it does break here, you still have some room. You probably still have 7 pips to the downside.
Okay.
Barely. So I was short on this. I took the heat on this inside this box, and I just took my profits on this one. So I was locked in that because I'm not sure which way this is going to go. Now back to the CAD. Oh, here we go. I'm distracted here. Here's the zone. Okay, here's the break of the wedge, 1-minute chart. Here's the break. Here's our red candle break. And we'll see where this thing goes here. Let's see if we can get into, see if we can take a trade to go short. And if it comes back and tags our entry zone, red zone line, let's see, where's the price on that? That's at 32.09. I'll do a sell stop at 32.09 if I can do that. 30, that'd be sell limit at 32.09. See if we can get us in there. It's asking, so we could get in if we're asking prices. Let's do 32.85. We'll call that sell limit. Let's see if it gets us in. They could get it right back up here to where the entry zone was. If it comes, have it come to you. Strong red candle coming back down, retracing part way up. See if it can get us into. Now it's going to have to cover close 2 pips above in order to get filled. And if that doesn't work, what we're going to do is we're going to put a sell stop in right here below at the, there we go, we just got filled. Here's our 7 pip stop, should be 7 pips. Stop loss of 7. We're going to give this 10 because it's a Canadian. Take profit. Let's try 7 on that. In the trade, looking for 7 pips right down here. Right now we have the moving average. So let's go, we got into the trade. Let's switch over to our 5-minute chart. And we have our moving averages all in the right order. The yellow and the green, they're starting to widen out a little bit. The purple and the yellow are widening out. And this is our target zone down in this area, I believe, is where we had some zone for our target. Put the fib lines on, see where we have some possibilities for. Here's our blue line. We came down, it passed it, checked it again. Left the blue line, looking for from blue, looking down to the red.
How many pips is that from your entry, Al?
This is 7 pips from here to here. Oh, this one?
Yeah.
This would be.
Is it 14? Oh, it is. Okay.
It would be 12 pips.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And 12 is the other number. It would be like 7, would be like 12 for targets. And that 12 again, that's halfway between the those Fibonacci zones. You have the full zone, which is usually 7 pips, and then halfway between the next zone is where you get the extra 3 or 4 pips. This could be a nice little trade here. You have a nice strong move down, getting a little bit of a flag pattern, a little bit of a pullback, see if it comes back up and retests the top of the wedge. But this is where I use this little tool right down here, where I go from the top to the bottom, pull it back up to the 38%. There's a 40%. And if it respects this wedge and breaks out the bottom, we could be looking here for the next target, which is right down here where we have, right here's a red line that we're looking at, which is 12 pips. And this is that 78 to 1% zone. That would be right in this area right here. And I'll go and I'll slide this thing up midway. If I can do that, there we go. Right about there. And then we make this a target demand zone. Let's see, what am I going to call this one here? There we go. Take these off now and clear up this chart. Here's our 7 pips. If you want to go for a little bit more, you may want to try and get down into this box here. You see it's pulling back, right, coming up into this 5-minute exponential moving average. These things are still pointing up. Let's take a look at our 1-minute chart and see if we can find where it may come up and then hook off the 1 minute. These are still primarily, we have red 15, red 5. The green, this is just the pullback. Came back up into the wedge. See if we can get up. If it comes up and gives it a little hook, we should still be okay. We might, see, that's where the alert was. This thing's coming up. If we get a nice little hook here with red bars, we may still be good to go. And I would just say this was a pullback. Looking at the different time frames, the Canadian dollar is still showing strength to the dollar, although not by a lot, with this little pullback. Here's the hook. Have a close back below the trend line. I'll be trying to look below the wedge. We get a red hull moving average on the 1 minute. We should be okay still. Right now, the Canadian dollar and the US dollar are fighting for last place on the 1 minute chart. But that's, again, that's a 1 minute chart. You can't put too much strength into that. Let's go to our 5 minute chart and see what's looking at there. We had the hook back. These came up right into the 60-40 zone. Let's see if we can get a little hook to come back out of it again. Still red bars. If it's a strong move, we should be able to just maintain these red bars. And then you see like the, now the 15 minute, which is the top bar, that was mostly short for, and then just a small green one. So it should be looking to go on short again. This might just be that small little pullback. If you look at the length of these green and red bars on the bottom, you see this is mostly short. Here's a pullback. Now it's back to being short again.
Ava had to go step away, so it's just you and I.
Okay, well, I think we're going to be wrapping this thing up here maybe in a few minutes. We may just cut this thing a little bit shorter today.
Okay.
I'm going to go till 10:15 anyway, and I think I might just cut it off a little bit shorter today. Here's the hook. See if we can get this thing to break down the bottom, and we'll let everybody be on their own for their targets. We got the part target set. This is the last trade we really have to work with. We are looking at the Swiss that, remember, it came down, came back. Now it did break this trend line. It came back, retested it, but it also hit right here at the, by this red fib line. And I said, if you were able to get in, I would hesitate taking it too short at this point. We had the break up here. So we got it, I got in somewhere over I'm not sure where I got in anymore. But anyway, I took my profits right in this area. $1 million, nice move down. Kind of cleaned out all these sellers here, but right now it's moving, getting into, here's a little bit of wick over wick area.